Anon is tracked down by the Internal Revenue Service, or the IRS. By Milk Rain, Anon and Twilight were just sitting down together reading a book, enjoying each other's company. That's when they heard the door knock. "You'll get it, Twilight, don't worry." As Anon said this, he got up, walked to the front door, and opened it, and was shocked to see not the humans standing in front of the door, but what they were wearing. He could see it clearly on the vest they wore, IRS. Twilight looked up from her book, shocked at what she saw at the front door. Anon are those other humans, but she was cut off by the door slamming in the other humans' faces as Anon locked the door. Twilight, surprised by this, would just say, "Anon, why did you slam the door in there?" But she was cut off again by Anon rambling about stuff. No, how did they find me? How did they get here? I can't go back, they won't take me back." As Anon was saying this, Twilight could hear the other humans yelling from the door. Hey, shouted one of the IRS agents as they knocked on the door. "Open the door, Anon, you know why we are here, just come with us, or we can do this the hard way." Twilight, still in complete shock, asked Anon, "What is going on?" But she was cut off again. "Stop making me get cut off by other people. Can't I just say a sentence?" But she was cut off again by me, the narrator, because she cut me off while I was speaking about this story. How rude. Twilight scoffed at me, which was not nice. "I am sad now." But after making me sad, she looked over to Anon, who has just smashed his fist through her floorboard. Twilight would just responded, "Anon, what the hell are you doing?" But she was cut off as Anon would say, "I have to go to my secret bunker." Twilight, as he said this, he would pull a lever under the floorboard he just broke to reveal a stairway down to some sort of basement. Twilight eyes go wide as she say, "When did you have time to build this into my house?" she shouted. But Anon did not answer as he quickly descended the stairs. Twilight was then spooked by the other humans trying to break down her door, and not knowing what to do, she quickly descended the stairs after Anon. As the IRS are trying to break down Twilight's door, one of the agents heard rustling coming from a bush. He went to check it out and was scared by a pink pony popping out of the bush. "Hiya, friend," the pink pony shouted. The agent would just stare at her confused and then ask, "And who may you be?" The pink pony would then correct him, "You mean whom?" The agent would only roll his eyes. Yeah, potato. Can we help you?" "I wanted to ask why the men in black are trying to break down my friend's door." The agent would reply, "First off, that's classified." And seconded, "How do you know what men in black is?" But he would be shushed by a hoof being placed on his lips and a cupcake being handed to him. The pink pony saying SHHHSSHHH. That's classified. A smile coming across the pink pony's face as she giggled. But the giggling was interrupted as the door to the house finally busted down. The leader of the squad would look to the agent holding the cupcake and say, "Stop messing around with the locals, we got a job to do." Then yelling to the whole squad, "Everyone, let's roll," as they all started to funnel through the door. The pink pony would smile at the agent, telling him that she hoped to meet him again as she jumped out of the bush and bounced away. The agent would keep staring at her, confused by the encounter, as one of his colleagues joined him saying, "You know she got a fat ass." But he would be smacked in the head by the agent with the cupcake still in his hand as he said, "Of course you of all people would point that out, you get no bitches." As he said this, he scarfed down the cupcake, joining the others downstairs in the secret basement. As Twilight descended the stairs, she would come into a room not that big, but it had armor and weapons she had never seen before. "Anon, what is all this?" Twilight asked. "Weapons from the human world. When I got here, some of my stuff got transported here too." As he said this, he was finally done gearing up. Twilight looked at him. He looked like the humans that were outside, but with much more gear on. Twilight would then ask, "Why did you never show me any of this?" Anon would just reply, "I don't think human technology and magic should mix." As he said this, he would check himself, having everything he need. He cocked back his M16 as they heard the door break upstairs. Anon would then tell Twilight to hide somewhere. Twilight would ask why, and Anon would just respond, "Because I am about to air this shit out." As an IRS agent descended the stairs, his leg would be blasted by a couple bullets. He then tumbled the rest of the way down the stairs. Twilight would see this and be in total shock. Anon had just injured one of his own so easily with that weapon he had. "Anon, did you just?" But she was cut off as Anon would tell her that yes, he just did that. He would then run for the exit behind him as the rest of the agents came down. "Shit, he's escaping. I want you three to go after him." As the leader said this, 3 agents would run after him. Twilight came out so see the agent who had been injured being cared to as the leader came up to her. "Sorry, miss, for inconvenience, but we have to take that human back with us." Twilight would just reply, "What did Anon even do?" Concern on her voice. "He did not pay his taxes." Twilight's face would go blank as the leader said this. "All of this for taxes?" Twilight shouted back, "Yep, and we are going to take him back by any means necessary." As Twilight heard this, she had a great idea to help Anon get out of this situation, but she would have to contact Celestia. And as she finished her thought, she would then ask the leader if she could help find him. Anon would walk down a path through the snowy winter as he was supposed to meet up with Twilight at a campsite of some sorts. It had been a while, about 2 months since he has been on the run. It would be nice to meet up with Twilight. As he got to the site, he saw Twilight sitting on a log, a scarf over her muzzle, the icy wind blowing her mane to the right, a campfire lit. Well, long time no see, Twi. You weren't followed right. Twilight would just responded, the other humans are not interested in us ponies, they would have no need to follow me. Well, okay, then you wanted to talk. About what exactly? I think you should give yourself up. Anon would just chuckle at this. What are you talking about, Twilight? Why would I go with them? I am not going back to the human world, especially not with them. I'm not going to jail, Anon said defensively. They would go back and forth, the other trying to reason with the other one, but Twilight eventually gave up. Well then, Anon, I tried, but before I leave, could you tell me how this works, putting her hoof onto his M16? You know I can't do that, Twilight. Twilight would just sigh, taking her hoof off the gun. Well, that's too bad, sick em boys. As she said this, multiply IRS agents came out of the woodworks, from trees, bushes everywhere surrounding Anon. Anon would look back at Twilight, who was already walking away. You set me up. As he said this, he tried to fire at the enemies, but his gun would not work. God damn it, she probably used some kind of magic to make my gun not work. He was swiftly tackled to the ground, but everyone would freeze, and a golden and dark blue light descended from the sky. Thou better release Anonymous this instant. As the IRS agents heard this, the lights disappeared, now hovering in front of them, 2 ponies, alicorns to be exact. Most of the humans took their attention off of Anon and looked at the 2 ponies now looking at them from above. Some of the agents point their weapons at the ponies, but Twilight would quickly say, "You guys should lower your weapons, because right now you are aiming your weapons at the leaders of this country." A smile coming across her face. The next pony to smile would be the white alicorn above them. "My student is right. As of right now, you are pointing your guns, as Twilight calls it, at the leaders of this nation that you are currently standing on. And I don't think the human military pointing their weapons at the leaders of a new nation is not a good introduction to one another." The leader used his hand to signal his squad to lower their weapons. As everyone did, the leader would then ask, "Okay, then what's your business being here? And also, we are not the military." But the leader would be interrupted by the other, shouting at him, "Thou ask what we are doing here. We should be asking you that. You come on our soil and do these illegal operations without thou notice beforehand, and not only this, you attack the ambassador between our worlds. I should punish thou by beheading thou on a guillotine." But Celestia would quickly step in. "Sorry for my sister, she is very angry at the moment, but basically we came to ask you all to leave politely, and you all will have to, because thanks to Twilight here, we have learned that there is a law in your human world called international extradition, and the rules of this law also line up with our version of this extradition law you humans have. So if we tally everything up, you come to our world unannounced, you do your military operations without our notice or consent, you attack the ambassador of both our worlds, and on top of that, Anon here asked for citizenship for this country, which we granted, so technically you're attacking one of our citizens too. And to think all this could have been avoided if you all asked nicely to take Anon back to his world." After Celestia was done with her little speech, she would just mumbled under her breath, "Even though we would not let you take him back." As she said this, she tossed a scroll at the leader. "If you read this law, it should line up with yours, and that the fact you did not ask for permission to take Anon back means you should cease your operation and go back to your world." As the leader read this, he sighed, throwing the paper back up to Celestia. Celestia catching it in her magic, a grin coming across her face. "Fine, you make some good points, and if you want us to leave, we have no other choice." As he said this, he told everyone to pack it up. The next thing they all heard was disgruntled human noises, as most of them had been tracking Anon for like 2 months at this point, only to come up empty-handed. The leader would then press something on his wrist, a portal through space-time opening up, and as the agent started to leave, we would say to Anon, "We will be back for you, Mr. Anonymous." As the leader said this, he walked through the portal too, and the final you human to go through the portal would stop, turning to the rest. "Hey, I don't know who she was, but could you guys tell that pink pony with that poofy hair that I really liked her cupcake?" the agent said. Twilight would immediately perk up at this. "You mean my friend Pinkie Pie?" The agent would only smile at that. "Huh, so that's her name." As he said that, he too would walk through the portal, it closing behind him. Everyone would just stand there in silence, looking at where the portal used to be, when all of a sudden Anon would groan. "Ooh, Twilight, take us home. I need to sleep in a proper bed." Anon would then flop onto Twilight, his hands holding onto her. Yeah, okay, Mr. Fugitive," Twilight said, annoyed. She would then look up at Celestica, thanking her for helping her in the plan before teleporting both of them home. Then Luna would ask something. "Well, sister, seems we have done it now. I shall be going to my dream walking duties. I am late since you brought me into this, but I must ask, why did these other humans come after Anon? You said you were going to tell me." Celestia would then tell her sister that the humans came for Anon because he did not pay his takes. In response, Luna would make a joke saying, "Well, what are thy chances Anon has not paid our takes, dear sister?" Saying this, she would teleport away. Celestia would chuckle at the joke, starting to teleport away. When she would stop herself midway, her eyes would go wide, some sort of realization coming to her. She would then quickly resume teleporting away. It has been a couple weeks since Anon was finally done being tracked down. He was now with Twilight trying to figure out some jigsaw puzzle they were working on when a knock would come at the front door. Twilight sighed he'll get it. She would walk to the front door, opening it only to see royal guards standing in front of her house. "Oh hello, is there some sort of problem?" She would then gasp as Queen Chrysalis back. But the guard in front would just reply, "No, none of that, we are actually here for Anon." Turns out the princess had looked over his file and his taxes returns are so bad that the amount he kept from us would send us into a Great Depression in the next month if we don't get those bits back. Trust me, Ms. Sparkle, I have seen it for myself, it is absurd. Twilight would slowly look back to where Anon was sitting. He was not there. She then turned to her other side and saw her floorboard broken, a small lever poking out. She then looked a few feet away from the lever and saw a whole new passage in her house. She inhaled and exhaled slowly, and in a shout that everyone in Ponyville heard that day, she would shout Anon.
That's all, Zipsters! Like and subscribe.